This is the Power Platform Daily Brief from CRM Audio for Wednesday, May 22nd, 2019. What you need to know about the Power Platform today in 10 minutes or less. I'm Brad Kuntz. Today we talked to Kylie Kiser. Kylie is a longtime and very passionate user and advocate of CRM and the Power Platform. Let's go listen to that interview. So today we're sitting down with Kylie Kiser. Kylie is a CRM. Kylie, how would you describe your relationship with CRM? It's from a title. I know you work with it every day. I know you're an end user.
Yeah, I guess CRM solution enthusiast, something
Enthusiast.
like
Okay.
that.
Guru, something along that line. I know Kylie has been working with CRM since 2010, so that's a long time, and that was a very, very long time ago in the age of this product. But tell us a little bit about how you got started with working with Dynamic CRM.
Sure. So I was a computer science graduate, and after I graduated, I said to myself, I don't want to write code. What am I going to do with this degree? And so I started applying for project management positions because I really wanted to bridge the gap between the technical and the non-technical and use the skills I had, but also kind of be interacting with people. And kind of was offered this position and told that I'd be a project manager apprentice on the CRM team. I'm like, yeah, that's great. Go home, Google, what is CRM? No idea what I'm getting into. Just basically spent my 2 years at that organization learning everything I could about CRM. The really benefit of the role I was in is that I had the time to spend training, as well as I was training users and just learning a lot of skills about the product and about how people use the product. And from doing that, it kind of gave me the skills I needed to get the role at a financial services organization up here in the Washington, D.C. area, and started there running their CRM implementation as an administrator, focusing a lot on change management and our release process. And that kind of grew into running their whole CRM team as a kind of product owner role, still with a big focus on change management and things like that.
Cool. What kind of things back in 2010? I think you were with a university. What kind of things were you guys doing with the platform? I know the platform itself was a little bit limited. XRM as a concept was maybe just getting started. But what kind of things was the university doing with the platform?
Sure. So this university had a very large online presence. And so when I started, they had just rolled out CRM for one of their call centers. And then when I was there, we were rolling it out to additional call centers across the university. So each call center would handle kind of a different piece of the student life cycle. And we had kind of a custom automated dialer, and then they were using a lot of the activities and the standard CRM functions. And then we also had some custom iframes that were pulling data out of the underlying database where all of the applications and actual real student data was housed so that the agents could view it. So formerly, all of these call center agents were going into the database and pulling up different database tables to see all of this data. And it was just not user-friendly at all. And so we were able to put it in a nice, pretty package for them. And we were able to pull in the student's picture. So while they're talking to them on the phone, they can associate kind of a face to that voice, to the name, and really personalize the whole experience. What was really cool about this is as we went to new departments in the organization, we were able to show them, here's what we did before, and kind of provide that value right off the top. And then as they thought of things they needed, this was value we could bring not just to the new department, but also go back to our old departments and say, hey, would this field be valuable for you? Would this change be valuable for you? And ask those kind of questions. So as we were bringing on new people and bringing that value, we were also bringing value to kind of the existing user base. So it was definitely a really cool experience and a bit of a different use case than what I've seen since then.
Well, I tell you, the fact that you had pictures on the customer records back in 2010, that's very impressive because that was not easy, especially at scale, I know back then.
Yeah, that was back in the 4.0 days, and I cannot take credit for that. Definitely some developer magic that was going on, but those pictures were stored kind of in the database of all the student data, so they were able to pull it back and display it kind of right on our form next to the rest of their data.
That's great. That's great. And I know now you're very involved with UG, with the local UG chapters.
Yeah, so I've been leading the Washington, D.C. chapter here for, I think, about 6 years now. Also, one of those things which I think you hear of a lot of people in the CRM industry, we kind of fell into these roles and then fell in love with them, I guess. But I started attending the CRM UG chapter here in Washington, I guess 7 years ago. And then one day our chapter leader retired and I became the chapter leader. And it's just been really exciting ride. I just love to be connecting all of these speakers with other people in our region, and really something that we've been doing over the last few years is connecting all of our local chapters. So we meet in Washington, D.C. that actually meets at the Chevy Chase, Maryland Microsoft office, but there's additionally a chapter in Reston, Virginia, led by Christy Kripe and Aiden Cascella and Jim Novak. And then we have the Richmond chapter in Richmond, Virginia, led by Patrick Wright and Debbie Dehart. I also forgot to mention my DC chapter. We have Bill Meters and Michael Ox, who are part of that chapter team. So recently, all of us have been kind of working together to elevate our chapters through collaboration, right? So we meet monthly to talk about what do we need, what's going well, what's not working well, how can we improve, and how can we share speakers. So something we did for the chapter meeting I actually had today is we talked to Jeff Abels from C5 Insight and said, hey, we're having all of our chapters the same week. Can you come speak at all of the chapters? So he was at Richmond yesterday, he was in DC today, and then he'll be presenting at Reston tomorrow. So it's been something we've done. We want to make sure that our meetings are not conflicting, but they're complementary. And, if someone can't make it to my chapter, can they go to the Reston chapter? And just try and make it so that we're working together and presenting kind of a unified front and promoting all the other chapters, which has been something that's been really successful for us.
Yeah, that's great. I know that area has had historically some pretty active chapters. So that's great that that you've taken over there and continue to drive that. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know that you have been kind of diving headfirst into the Power Platform, kind of coming out of a pure CRM mindset and kind of moving into Power Apps and Flow especially. Tell us how has that journey been for you?
Yeah, so I think as you said, like I've been so focused on pure CRM, and I've been kind of one of my specialties has always been workflows inside of CRM. So I think when the Flow stuff started coming out, I was very excited about it, but also it was a little bit difficult for me because most of my experience has been with on-premise CRM. So I'm like, what can I really use? How can I really make use of this? And how do I really get started learning? And so I kind of had to force myself and say, I need to learn this because these are skills that are going to be very important going forward. So let me figure out what to do. And so recently on my blog, I was going through this board game series, which basically what I did is I looked around my house and I said, what data sets do I have that I could make something interesting for the purpose of learning the Power Platform, but also being able to blog something that would be interesting for other people who are in kind of the same position. So basically what I did is I built this data structure inside of Dynamics 365 / CRM, whatever you want to call it, to house this game information, things like number of minimum and maximum number of players, average play time, and those kind of things, as well as a related rating for that game. And so then I took all of that data, pulled it into Power BI, and built a little dashboard so I could filter and find games that met certain specifications. So if I had 4 friends coming over who had 1 hour to play a game, I could show a list of what games we had to play, right? And then and then I pulled that data into a Power App so that I could see my list of games on the Power App, but also um, add a rating and push that to Dynamics 365. So that little rating button had a little flow that would push that data as a new record into Dynamics 365 and associate it with the board game. And then I had, some roll-up fields or calculated roll-up fields that were pulling that data and aggregating that data at the game level. So each piece was pretty simple, but it was
Right.
encouraging me to try new things and experiment with these cool technologies. And I think a lot of people kind of resonated with being in that same spot of, what do I do? How do I start learning these things? And so hopefully it was helpful to people to kind of look at it in a different way. I mean, it doesn't have to be something that you're going to use in your business. For me, I just needed something to get in there and see what's it like. How do I start building these? And also just to not be scared of it, right? To learn that I can get in there and there are things I can do when I may not know fully what's going on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a fun blog series that you did. I'll put a link into the show notes so that people can check it out. I love seeing when folks do kind of fun real life type of scenarios with these platforms. I do think it's a great learning opportunity to be able to do that. So this is cool. I got to ask you, what did your friends think when you pulled out an app that takes what sometimes is people would consider a simple kind of process of selecting a game, but you created an app for it? What was their feedback about the fact that you had taken the time to create an app for this?
Well, any of my friends who have been around me and my husband will know that picking a game is not an easy process. Usually he has like 10 suggestions for when people come over. Most of them start at over an hour of playtime. So I think I don't think I tried the app on any actual friends because I told them, here are my favorite games.
Okay.
But I know I showed it to my husband and he was very impressed and thought it was cool. So I
That's
think maybe
funny.
I'll have to make it a staple in our household when we have people over.
That's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
And like I said, we'll also put links to your UG meetings that are coming up. We'll put those in the show notes as well.
All right, perfect. And I'll
All right.
talk to you soon.
Thanks, Kylie. That's all for today's Power Platform Daily Brief. Power on.